if you are watching this on Facebook, not only will the comments that you're putting through will come through to this particular feed, but also you can share it. Now, it does say on there that it is the incidental episode with Michael D'Alesso, which was our interview earlier, but that's because I haven't changed the names on the actual stream. But our interview coming up is with Mike Broder. Looking forward to this. Any comments and questions that you want to put in, by all means, do let us know. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitch, we're on Periscope and YouTube, but we'll keep an eye on all of the comments coming in. We're going to do our best to, as well, keep any questions that you have for future guests coming in. So do put those to our Twitter, to Englishman SDCC. We've got some great guests coming up, of course, over the course of the next couple of weeks. But we're also lining up guests for next month as well. We've got some spots that have opened, which means if you have anybody that you would love us to reach out to, anyone that you think has got some great convention memories, some great perspective on the convention landscape, and indeed anything that you want to talk about, tag them in, let them know we're around, and we'll see what we can do about getting them on the show. We are doing our best to reschedule that Bill Sienkiewicz interview. That's probably going to happen in the first weekend of next month. We also are hopefully going to be speaking to Gail Simone and also Tom King. Fingers crossed we're going to get them kind of all ducks in a row over the course of the next month or so. But anybody you want us to interview, do let us know. And of course, if you're watching this now, that does mean that you have a notification because we, of course, do broadcast usually on a Wednesday and a Sunday. This is a special drop-in incidental episode because we wanted to spend some special time with our guest today. If you got the notification, it's because you're a subscriber to our YouTube channel. Thank you so much indeed. Hit the notification bell, jump in and let everyone know what we're up to, and yeah, you'll know when we do any of these special episodes. So please do hit the notification, hit the bell, and it'll tell you when we're going live. We've got ourselves a couple of people are jumping in already. We've got ourselves into the blueness, and now it feels like Groundhog Day. Yes, I know it says Michael D'Alesso on the video title. I will go through and edit all of those late after the event. Thank you very much indeed to the way that the system is set up. I have to kind of do that, but that was entirely my fault on this one. It's not Michael, it's not this time, but we have, well, not Michael D'Alesso, but we have another Michael on the way, and we're going to dive into that shortly. Once again, all the comments that are coming through on all the various feeds, they come through to our studio session here, and we'll field as many of the questions as we can, and I'm certain we've got plenty for our next guest. So, my name's Leonard Sultana. This is Talking Con, a cup of tea with an Englishman in San Diego. It's our incidental episodes on a Tuesday evening. Tomorrow, of course, talking to Donny Cates and Megan Hutchinson. Looking forward to speaking to them. But right now, we're doing our second of our incidental episodes today. We have got someone very special who's joining us. Someone who's trying something a little bit different, especially when it comes to the virtual con landscape, which is growing in the void of all the cancelled conventions for 2020. It's a brave new world, and it's also something which people are doing their best to get the best experience to fans, and that's where we bring in Mike Broder. Hello there, Mike. How are you, sir?
Hey, good, Leonard. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Yeah, we've covered GalaxyCon live on the Convention Collective as the website, and it's been great to, like I say, see what your approach is, and we're going to dive into certainly what GalaxyCon live is trying to do.
Sure.
First things first, just in case anybody doesn't know who you are, we'd like to introduce you to them. Mike Broder, the floor is yours. Who are you, and what have you? What's your background?
You lied to the audience. You said I was a special guest. I don't know that I'm that
you
special.
Are a special guest.
My name is Mike Broder. I run the GalaxyCon family of shows. We have conventions in Raleigh, North Carolina, Richmond, Virginia, Minneapolis. We've run in Louisville, Kentucky, and once upon a time we were SuperCon, especially in Florida before we had sold that brand off to Reed Pop. And I've been doing conventions for about 14 years, and here we are.
Well, yeah, here we are indeed. I mean, the kind of the world just came to this incredible stop, and the fact that it just happened at such a immediate space of time. I mean, within 7 days, 14 days, the world just totally changed.
Yeah, we
Uh,
had our Richmond show the same weekend as C2E2, and I
wow.
believe that we were the last two big Comic Cons that happened. And then, like right as we came back from that show, it was lights off.
Well, what was the kind of the rumblings around that time? Because I can imagine. I mean, this isn't something I mentioned about the kind of the way that the infrastructure and society did make its efforts to shut things down and lock things down as soon as they could. But we'd heard rumblings for at least a month or so beforehand. What was the kind of conversations that were going on around the time of Richmond?
I think that everybody was a little bit more cautious. We had these little GalaxyCon branded bottles of sanitizer, and I think we went through more of those in that one show than we had for like the last 5 shows. And but nobody got it. Nobody got sick at that show, with COVID, which thank God. And it wasn't quite real yet, right? People were talking about it, it was popping up, but it wasn't pandemic level yet. And then the week later, we got back from the show. Then all of a sudden, it starts to spread everywhere, and we're like, this is not looking good.
Sure. I mean, how many shows were going to be running throughout summer that you were directly involved in?
We had 3 shows for the rest of the year. We have our Raleigh show in the last week of July 30th through August 2nd. We have our Minneapolis show November 8th through 10th. And then we were going to move our Louisville show to Columbus. And so we had a Columbus date contracted that we hadn't announced yet. We were going to announce it literally the Monday we got back from Richmond. But then with the COVID stuff, we were like, we're going to wait. And then it became hey guys, can we shift this to next year? Let's not try and launch a new show during a pandemic.
Sure. I mean, before we do get into GalaxyCon Live, I mean, obviously the convention landscape, it's just turned upside down and on its head, and especially either shows making the decision to either cancel and kind of make 2020 kind of like a non-year and move directly on to next year, or moving to the back end of the year. How is that diary kind of looking for yourselves? I mean, also just as a fan, I mean, what your perspective on all of these cons that are deciding that perhaps it will be safer in the back end of the year, things may have calmed down, and we may return to some kind of normality.
I think there's a lot of challenges. I think the information changes daily. I think that anyone who thinks that they have an answer is fooling themselves. We have a show on the books for August 1st in Raleigh. We're talking to the Raleigh Convention Center, the CVB, and the city every week. I have my next meeting with them tomorrow, and they're talking to the governor's office, and we're trying to figure out, could a show happen? Under what circumstances does a show happen? Do we go in with a much smaller footprint? Do we go in with a lot more social distancing area everywhere, wearing masks? Everybody getting temperature checks. What does that look like? And the answer is I don't think anybody knows. No. Because right now we're in phase 1 of reopening. Okay, well, when do we get to phase 2? What
does that look like? Yeah.
Right. And do we get to phase 3? And now that we're reopening, we're starting to see some cases popping up, some clusters, especially in churches. Right. I keep seeing stories about church groups now.
Indeed.
I don't know. Is it because people in the church weren't wearing masks and they're singing and they're praising and it's just all going around and everybody's touching each other and hugging? Church is a very huggy, feely kind of a place. Is that happening? And is that why you get 38% of a group in a small church in Arkansas ends up with COVID a week later?
I was just reading that story myself. But then again, right. You could also talk about conventions being our own churches to pop culture, very much like you say, singing and praising. Exactly. And it's a very similar setup.
And so I had this conversation earlier today with somebody where I'm like, if we could put on a show in the end of July and early August, sure. if there's, measures in place and everybody's safe and the city is behind us and there's, the proper procedures we can come up with where we can keep people as safe as possible. But if there's the risk of, 30% of it's not worth the risk. Sure. And as far as the fall goes, you get a lot of shows piling on top of each other on that calendar. That calendar's stacking up where you've got, where before you had 1 or 2 major shows in a weekend, now you're getting 4, 5, 6 major shows in a weekend all on top of each other. Strains the guests, the talent, strains the exhibitors, and we don't know if this thing is not going to come back and bite us in the ass in the fall. They keep saying, sunlight, vitamin D, that's what kills this thing, right? The heat. So August in Raleigh, where it's 92 degrees, seems like a better time than maybe November, where it's 64 degrees.
Yeah.
And who knows? We're not going to have a vaccine for at least a year.
Yeah.
They have some treatment, but what does normal look like? And,
no.
I think we all take our lead from live sporting events, Disney World, concerts.
It's the conversation we had with my Delesso earlier, and he was saying, the same examples. Certainly when it comes to theme parks and like Disney, those are going to be certainly the models to keep an eye on.
And Disney's doing a soft opening right now of Disney Springs in Orlando, not real Disney Springs with a couple of shops, but it's key that they're trying it with their retail partners first to see how it goes, test it out, and then they'll open up, a little bit wider. And what does that look like? What is a Disney World where there's social distancing and there's masks and there's temperature checks look like?
Sure. A question, this is very much a question for yourself rather than some of the other guests that we've had on, because you could probably have a really good insight in this particular idea, because it's something that we're starting to question when it comes to the new normal down the line, and when we have conventions return in whatever shape or form that is, especially those that like comics and pop culture rely on the international aspect of the whole element of it.
Sure.
Certainly we've got a big show. The MCM shows today, they cancelled, so some of the shows for those are now off the cards. But certainly for comics, the big show is Thought Bubble, which is held in Harrogate, and it's an international show. I'm curious, certainly for here in the UK, that's going to be a very difficult scenario when we have the position in place. Anyone who flies in, it's a 14-day quarantine. What's the status in the States for people flying east to west coast, for example, or into the middle of the country? What's the kind of like the domestic travel element of getting guests, especially celebrity guests?
All right. So that's I don't think you're getting any international guests in the United States for a year. Yeah. I can't imagine getting David Tennant to agree to get on a plane, or Dave Gibbons to get on a plane and come to the U.S. domestically to do a convention, to fly internationally and take the risk. I just can't imagine. Maybe there's a few, but domestically, the planes are flying.
Right.
Some are flying, with 75, 80% capacity. Some are flying with 2 or 3 people on a plane. It's just, I'm part of some airline groups where people talking about what their experiences on planes are, and I think it's all over the place. I don't know that the airlines. Look, everybody's having to shift into this weird, proactive, how are we going to keep people safe thing, except they don't have those structures in place, and we don't even know how to keep people safe. Like there was that story of the doctor who claims he got it through his eyes on a plane. Did that happen? I don't know.
Yeah.
Does it travel through the eyes? Does it travel through the air vents on the planes? That's all recirculated air. How do you keep yourself safe in that? I don't think we have answers because I think it's too soon.
So do you see that? I mean, you're talking about international guests. Do you see a drop in domestic guests? Say, for example, traveling.
If we pull off our show on August 1st, I think 50% of the guests choose not to fly. At least, if not more. I think there are guests. I think guests that are older. There's no way.
Yeah.
William Shatner, who is one of my favorite guests in the world, and we're doing an event with him this weekend virtually, is 89 years old. I can't put that man on a plane, right? Like, in good conscience, I don't know how you put an 89-year-old man, as healthy as he is, on a plane. This thing is, people that are immune compromised, can't put them on a plane. So, you can get, younger, healthier people who will take the risk, and who will want to fly and who will want to get out. But I think, in a lot of conventions, be it comic creators or celebrities, comic guys, I bring in a lot of older guys, can I ask Jim Shooter and Keith Giffen, in good conscience, to get on a plane? They're older dudes, can Ramona Fradon fly right now?
Yeah.
And on the celebrity side, Henry Winkler, William Shatner, older talent. I don't see that happening until there's a vaccine.
Understandable. I mean, that was a big chunk of conversation about the landscape of conventions, and it wasn't necessarily what we agreed that we were going to be talking about. But you're definitely somebody with that perspective on it. Absolutely.
Look, we run large events. I mean, our Raleigh show is a 55,000 person event. It's not New York Comic Con size, but we're still one of the major shows. I've got four. We've been doing this a long time. There's only a handful of people doing what we do at the scale we do it, and so it's a discussion worth having. Gen Con canceled today, another big show.
Indeed.
And they were the same weekend as us in Raleigh, and so it's an ever-changing world, and we just you have to adapt. That's it. It's just adaptation. And does it mean taking a year off? Does it mean moving it? If I'm going to postpone or cancel, I'm going to push into next year. I'm not going to look to compete in the fall when things could come back.
Yeah, that makes sense. And it's interesting to get your take on all of this, and especially for somebody who has the experience and knows what it takes and what you need to put on a convention, which kind of leads neatly on to your efforts with GalaxyCon Live, because the virtual space for conventions, there's so many different ways that people are approaching them, either with the likes of Virtual Pop Expo by running through an app, or just putting content on YouTube and working in that kind of space, but not necessarily engaging with the full panoply of the range of stuff that's available, what you would usually see at a convention, and also that direct interaction, which is what GalaxyCon is definitely offering with GalaxyCon Live.
Well, we started when this whole thing started. I didn't know what to do. Right, we all went home. So I started by saying, "Hey, a bunch of people not in the convention world, but in other places started streaming. I'm like, you know what? We'll start doing a stream." And it became a daily thing, Monday through Friday, where I was talking to either celebrities or comic guys about, just convention experiences and just talking, hanging out. And as we started to do that, we had a pretty good response from our fans, and people were interested, and we got some really cool guests. We had Jonathan Frakes on, who had a great show with us. We had Dave Bautista on, who had a great show with us. And we started thinking, and the format of what we're doing now, we shifted. We pulled out of that, daily me just kind of hanging out, to a more professional product. And so, we had thought of this a year ago, of doing some virtual stuff.
Well, that was going to be my next question. I mean, I've spoken to a number of organizers that have put virtual convention elements together this over the course of this summer and over the course of while the pandemic's been in place. And they have been talking that it's been 3, 4, 5 weeks in kind of getting things in place. You're saying that this is something that you've had in mind for a while.
Yes, but so we started first talking about it my wife and I started talking about this a year ago, maybe even longer, being like, oh, this is, we should be doing something virtual. And you had started to see things like Cameo pop up. And Cameo has a very specific, the virtual shout out model. But then we were like, well, what if we did things more virtual where you had Q&As and you had, autograph things and you had, one-on-one chats. We had done last year in Raleigh, John Cleese canceled because he had a filming commitment for a new movie. So we set up a virtual, live stream at the convention where I sent somebody to his hotel in New York and we just live streamed him and we set up autographs that he pre-signed and sent to the show. And we had the event and we had fans go up and talk to him, on the computer and ask him questions. And it was wonderful. It was amazing. And then we did the same thing in last November in Minneapolis, where David Tennant canceled on us because his wife just had her baby, and they were dealing with being the family stuff, and so we just set David up to go virtual. And so we had already been toying with it, but the truth of the matter is, we were in the hamster wheel. We were in the hamster wheel of our office was 13 people working on these shows, 4 shows, year on, week out, every day, every week, every month. And so you're in this hamster wheel where you're constantly working on the next show. You're working on the show coming up. You're working on the show after that. We're booking guests. We're running ads. And we just didn't have the manpower resources to pivot to start a whole new virtual business. And so even though we talked about it, it was just pie in the sky. It was like, oh, sure, we should do that. Oh, that's the future. But at the same time, we're still trying to get to Richmond. We're still trying to get to Raleigh. We're still planning for that Columbus show. We're still planning. And so we couldn't just make the jump. And also, you got to find the programmers to build the software out, to do it the way you want to do it. And you need manpower. This is a very manpower intensive project. So when everything kind of, collapsed, I'm doing the live streams, and Sandy and I started looking at what providers are out there where we could cobble together the virtual model. And then we started talking to our ticketing provider, our technology partner, Grotix, and they said, well, we're thinking about doing our own thing. And I said, well, you have the developers. Why don't you just build me what I want? And so we started talking, and we would sit on the phone at night, and I would just draw out on a sheet of paper, this is what I want it to look like. This is what I'm thinking. And they went out and they built it. And that saved me on having to go find developers to build it, and then, I took our internal team, we've managed to keep the majority of our staff with us, and I just shifted them to the virtual model. And, we launched a few weeks ago, and, we beta launched 3 weeks ago. And now we've got, William Shatner coming on Saturday. So,
well, yeah, I mean, we can talk about the names that you've got on. I mean, like I said, you've talked about how you kind of started things. I know that the first one, I believe, was, if I just bring up the coverage that we put out, I think
we did the 3 My
Hero Academia and hello, sorry.
Oh, we did the 3 My Hero Academia ladies, Monica, Colleen, and Lucy. And we did the 3 It Kids, the kids from the It movies. And that was our first week, and we launched. And we learned a lot on that launch. What technology works, what didn't. There was a lot of lessons that we then, let's make it better. And then the second weekend, we did Chris Sarandon and Ken Page from Nightmare Before Christmas. And we ended up not doing the Tiger King thing.
Oh, you didn't? I was going to ask how that went.
I pulled the plug on that.
Really?
Yeah, we were supposed to get, that's a funny story. We were supposed to get a third person in that group. That would have been a much more interesting kind of somebody to front end it. And that person bailed at the last minute. And then all I was left with the Joshua and James, and we just couldn't get any traction with it. And it just wasn't working. And so I called up the agent and I was like, look, this is not gonna, I don't know, this is gonna work. So let's try again some other time, or just maybe that Tiger King thing is over. But we needed a stronger, lead on it. And so we did the Chris Renningham page. And then then after that, we had the Legend of Zelda cast. And then we did the Karate Kid group this past weekend. Yeah. Which went great.
Well, let's talk about the reaction then of how they have gone down. It's a slightly different model. It's a different approach in that you are charging directly to basically you are selling an experience.
Yes.
Whereas some virtual models are just putting content out there for live, or they're kind of using it as a charity thing. Yeah, it's both.
So when we started, the Q&As are free.
Sure.
And they were always meant to be free. Now we put a $5 ticket on them, and then we put out a promo code, live free. And we're like, here's the thing. It's $5. Put in the promo code. Get it for free. People don't read. And so people are like, right? And so I think yesterday we just made it all, 100% free on the Q&A, because the point of the Q&A is, here's the Q&A. You don't have to pay anything. You don't have to buy anything. Here it is. We were doing this before, when I was streaming. Now we're still doing it. It's free.
It's just Q&A.
Watch it, enjoy it, right? Just, you got to sign up. You got to sign up so we can, we know who's watching and how many people, and we can have an understanding of what the bandwidth is going to be. But it's free. Then, if you want to spend money, thank you, Into the Blue Mister. If you want to spend money, if you want to meet the talent, then we have options, right? And then we have that convention model of one-on-one virtual chats where you can talk directly to the talent. And the cool thing about that is it's like this right now with me and you. And then at the end of that chat, if it's 2 minutes, they get the video of that chat. So imagine talking to whoever, and then at the end, you get this video of you talking to the other person. It's pretty cool, right? And I think that's like the selfie of the COVID generation.
Yeah. It's something I've not taken part in yet. I think it's purely because, as you may have noticed, I do like to talk, and I've got this nasty fear of spending 2.5 minutes on asking a question and then them having 30 seconds to answer. And it just, I can imagine it would. How has those Q&As gone in terms of kind of people kind of facing one-on-one their heroes, as it were?
It's pretty cool. I mean, it's not a long interaction. It's 2 minutes is not a long time.
Exactly.
But it is 2 minutes with a person. You meet them. You get to say hi. They say hi back. You can ask a question. You maybe talk about something, and you get that moment. You get the moment, and you get the video of you with them, and you can say, I met. Look, yesterday I did the test with Shatner, and I keep going back to Shatner because it's a big deal. But Absolutely. I did a test with Shatner, and I go, it's pretty cool to have you and William Shatner on a screen that you have for the rest of your life of you guys talking. 2 minutes, not a long time, but it creates a memory. And then we're doing autographs, where people can buy autographs, and the talent will sign it to them, and we'll mail it to the fan, or we will do the virtual recorded messages. And we're still toying with it. We're still trying to figure out what works, what doesn't work, what groups work. And there'll be changes to the model, but I imagine that when we do get back to live shows, that there's a combination of virtual and live. Like it starts to get more integrated.
I'm bringing up, I'm just scrolling down. It was going to lead on to the next question I was going to ask anyway, which is obviously the whole aspect of that one-on-one conversation, and also getting people involved in virtual Q&As. there's no easy way of getting around this. One or two of these guests are old,
Yes,
or older, and
yes,
maybe they don't have as good a grasp on technology as some other people. How's that learning curve been for the talent? I mean, I can imagine for yourselves it is a case of getting your head around the actual infrastructure of it. But as a guest, or the guests, I'm wondering how they've been able to adapt.
we learned in the regular live stream Q&As that we were doing when it was me. We learned that we were using StreamYard. We used StreamYard like you're using.
Okay.
And we were just going like we did, 10, 15 minutes beforehand, 20 minutes beforehand, testing, going live. It doesn't work in this, it didn't work for us.
Right.
There was, we did Jonathan Frakes and Marina Sirtis, and Marina's technology didn't work. And we lost her for the day. And Marina, lovely lady, tried, just her technology just for some whatever reason didn't work. And we came out of that going, okay, we're going to have to do a test a week in advance, a few days in advance, and make sure that everything's perfect. That includes me, if I have to, sending a device or a laptop to a talent. I may have had to buy somebody, buy a microphone off Amazon this week for somebody because they were coming through a little low. The video is great, but the audio is coming through low. And I'm like, we got to get you a microphone. I got to get you a Yeti so people can hear you, and an adapter. So I'll send technology now. We'll test early, a few days to, today. We did our test today with the Walking Dead group for the Friday Q&A. But those are more tech savvy, younger, people.
I think they're also doing more of them, and I think they're starting to regularly see. It's interesting that you say that you're using StreamYard. I was curious as to the platforms, because there are so many different ways, and I can imagine some talent are used to using Skype, some are used to using Zoom. There's so many different options. What made you choose the platform that you've gone for your particular?
Well, we use StreamYard for the Q&A that we put through the Grotix, back end, which comes out, on a, their thing. And then all the one-on-one chats are all through their proprietary, software, right? It's not a Zoom or a StreamYard that we're doing the chats on. Just because there's so many bells and whistles, and there's timers and add time, and bring have people in a waiting room and record the message. But we tried a couple of different. We tried BeLive before we went to StreamYard, and it just didn't work. We just had too many technical issues, and then we went to StreamYard, and it kind of worked.
Sorry, I'm just bringing up the page, if anything, for the forthcoming things, so which we can very quickly talk about.
But, and the one thing I want to say is, because you're there's also a comic book audience here. So then the thing that happened was we shifted to this model, but it's a celebrity-driven model.
Yeah,
it doesn't really work well with comic guys. But I'm a comic guy, and we are comic. We do have comics as a core part of our convention. So when I stopped doing the streams with the celebrities, we started doing GalaxyCon Talks Comics, which is me and Patty Hawkins. And Patty is the host moderator for all the GalaxyCon live stuff, but he's also a big comic nerd like me. And so we do a weekly show Tuesday nights where we talk to comic guys. So tonight we have Keith Giffen.
I was about to say, let's promote that. So that's Facebook, yeah?
Yeah, we do that on Facebook Live, Facebook on the GalaxyCon Facebook, and we do that on YouTube. Tonight's Keith Giffen. We've had Bill Jemis. We've talked to, Chaikin, Howard Chaikin, Richard Pace. And next week we've got Gustavo Duarte, who did that Dear Justice League book and, created our mascots. And Jim Shooter was supposed to do last week, but he was sick, so we're going to do him in 2 weeks. And that's kind of to keep the comic book, we did Dan DiDio. I had Dan on, but that's to keep the comic book flame alive, because I still want to keep, engaging with comic pros, and there are things I'm working on to get more involved with, having comic creators involved and doing special events with them. We just, cart before the horse. We want to get this thing up and running, and then I'll shift there.
Sure. When you're talking about the technical issue that you had with Marine Certis, it does kind of ask a question, and certainly you might be able to help address this for anybody that might be interested in participating in a future session. If something did go wrong, either somebody was ill or there was a technical issue where the Q&A or the live one-on-one wasn't able to go ahead, how are you dealing with, say, rescheduling or reimbursing? Is it, because at the end of the day, sometimes you can't get the talent back for that particular session?
I haven't had the problem yet. I would imagine if we had to cancel an event, we just refund everybody. I mean, it's just pretty simple. We had some technical issues the first week with the It Kids Q&A, where the bandwidth, we just had a crush of people. So we just emailed everyone who had signed up a link to watch it after the fact. And so, I think, we've got it, this weekend out of, we had, 600 people watching Karate Kid. I think we had 3 people who couldn't, who had technical issues on their end. We just sent them the link to watch it. It's not a big deal.
Sure.
And
I'm certain it's also just a case of, like any kind of organization and any kind of when you're organizing a convention, you're kind of working and spinning plates and putting out fires on the fly, and you're learning as you go, I can imagine.
Yeah, it's learning as you go, and it's triage. There's always something that can go wrong, will go wrong. And then we ran out of time the first week with one of the It Kids. And so we just rescheduled him for the following. We had some technical issues, rescheduled him for the following week, and we got everyone taken care of the following weekend. And it was easy. He was very, very affable and happy to do it. I would imagine that if we have to, right now people aren't really busy, so if we have to postpone or we have to do a make good day, it's not that hard.
Sure.
If we go over time. But you want things to go as smooth as possible. And so far we've, other than a couple of hiccups early on, things seem to be going pretty smooth now.
Excellent. Well, touch wood. There we go. I've got the wooden cabinet behind me, but touch wood for you. Let's have a quick look then at the lineup for the forthcoming weeks, because like we say, we've had a couple of weeks of some amazing content which you put out already. But let's have a quick rundown of some of the upcoming sessions that you've got to come.
Yeah, Friday we have from The Walking Dead, Cooper Andrews, Pollyanna McIntosh and Joshua Mickle. Saturday we've got William Shatner. Also on Saturday I've got My Hero Academia group with a couple of the guys. Yeah. Jason David Frank on Sunday.
I've panel hosted before. The man can hold people's attention. What a great guest.
And then next week we're doing the Ruby Girls. Kara, Aaron, Lindsay, Barbara. They're great ladies. We're doing a Star Trek Next Generation group with Jonathan, Marina, and Brent. Marina did get a brand new laptop, so I do know that. We've got Tim Curry coming up. We've got the Achievement Hunter group from Rooster Teeth and Teen Juniper from Ruby. And we're going to be making announcements, every week. We're just adding more. We're making a big announcement on Thursday. We've got a big guest they're going to announce then. And we're talking to agents every day about aligning things up.
Like you say, when you're looking at the way that the landscape is looking, certainly beyond the virtual world, and in how the pandemic is evolving, developing, and how the lockdown may be easing, whatever. Do you see a kind of how long do you expect to roll GalaxyCon live through?
Well, I think this is
how far are you planning ahead at this point?
Oh, I mean, I'm sending out contracts into August right now.
Right. Okay.
And then I expect that I'll keep sending out contracts. I think this is a new normal.
Yeah.
Even if we go back to live events, I still want to keep doing this. I think that this is even if we have live events, there are people who won't be able to travel.
Sure.
There are people who are immune compromised. There are people who are older. There are people who don't want to take the risk, at least until there's a vaccine. And again, it's pretty cool. You get to watch there's been a bunch of, Q&As, live streams that other people have done that I've watched, the Muppet guys have done a couple of things that have been really cool. Q&As that I've, signed up for. And, if you're a fan of stuff, it's
absolutely. I mean, to wrap things up and just kind of before we kind of really fully promote and show everyone the link and send everyone into the direction. One element that we were certainly talking with Michael DeLesso earlier is the big appeal of a comic convention is that interaction one-on-one with retailers and with artists and those people on the other side of the booth, and they are taking a massive hit with the current setup. So is that something that you're looking to also interact with and have kind of like that virtual exhibition floor element as well?
I'm not. No.
It's a tough thing to kind of administrate, I can imagine.
It is, and there are people trying to do it, and I hope they figure out a model. We have been posting on our social media, several times a week, a spotlight exhibitor or artist that's in our artist alley or an exhibitor. Exhibitors and artists are the lifeblood of these shows, right? Like they're such a core thing. And the loss of the circuit, the loss of it affects so many people. Just think about the economics of it. You've got hundreds of exhibitors and artists each week, thousands, going from show to show to show, making their living. That's gone. You've got the talent and the talent's agent, and all making money. The photo ops people, even the people who work at the convention centers, that work in the concession stands, and the security guys all, rely on this. So the sooner we can get back to, a live event, the better, for all these people. It's really hitting the community hard. I do know that a lot of retailers I speak to are doing what they can on eBay. They're doing what they can online sales, and they're doing okay, or they're trying. And I know a lot of artists, the bigger artists, when I talk to the agent, the agent reps are getting, a lot of commissions through online, because you can't get them at the shows anymore. And there are some people that you would just never think that would be doing commissions that are doing commissions now. Some of the prices are a little high, but the opportunity is there. I won't name names, but the opportunity is there. I think that there are people trying to do a virtual showroom. I talked to some technology providers about how that would look. I know there are some shows that are going to do some virtual shows. I'm interested to see how they handle it. I mean, I could think of a bunch of ways to do it, but I don't know how it translates into actually people making real money from the exhibitor point of view. And what I don't want to do is I don't want to waste people's time, get hopes up, and if we do something, I want to do it right. I want to plan for it. I want to, I'm not saying it's not going to happen or it couldn't happen. I'm just saying I don't want to rush something out without really thinking it through. I think it's tough. I think how do you get people to experience when you're walking through a show and you've got hundreds of artists and vendors just at one of my shows? Forget about San Diego Comic-Con or something where the show floors are huge, and you got to get the people in the building, virtually, and exposed to the product. And I think that's that's tough.
Yeah. I mean, I think the certainly one solution that was put forward, which I'm sure you've been paying close attention to, was the virtual Pop Expo, which had what could have been the ideal model, which was the virtual exhibition floor, the booths, etc. Except they ran it like an actual convention, with the doors open at 10, doors closing at 6. That is reliant in the real world of people being at the door to get through onto the floor. In the real world, in the virtual space, that's difficult. That's different. It's not as tactile. There's a different disconnect there. So I don't think anyone's quite worked out how to do that. Like you say, it's a very difficult situation to put forward. But certainly when it comes to the Q&As and the talent and getting that into the hands of an audience, that's something that I think you're doing a cracking job on.
It's easier to promote. See, that's the problem. It's easier to promote William Shatner or Tim Curry or the Karate Kid to the world, right? Like, here, come see these guys, and it's free, right? Like, the Q&A is free. Even with the comic guys, I love comics. We get a much smaller audience when we do comic guests, and it's just the nature of the beast. Now, trying to help guys sell product virtually, when people can, if people are going to shop from home, they go to Amazon, they go to eBay. The world is your oyster online, right? The whole point of the convention experience is with artists and with exhibitors is that tactile relationship. It's look, feel, look, touch, buy. People can see the thing, they can hold it. They can talk to the artist, they can flip through the artist portfolio, they have a conversation, they buy a print, they buy a sketchbook, they buy something. Online, there's so many options between, like I said, Amazon and eBay and Etsy, etc. I just don't know that it translates as well. And that's
no, it makes sense. No, it makes sense. It makes sense. So let's point everyone in the right direction, which is GalaxyCon.com/live. Like I say, I mean, I'm looking for the new normal. I'm looking for the best options. I'm looking at the various solutions that organizations like yourself are putting forward. I really am a fan of what GalaxyCon is doing, especially with the sheer breadth of the talent. It's not just a certain style. You've got the animation, you've got some great live action, you've got some great legacy guests on there. It's just a great lineup, and I'm looking forward to seeing what else and who else that you're going to bring to the platform. But that's where everyone should go check out GalaxyCon.com/live. Just something that we hadn't mentioned is how much the sessions are, the one-on-one sessions. What's the kind of price ranges that you're looking at?
Depends. So like it's anywhere from, I would say it's like, $50 is kind of like the average, and then it goes up depending on the bigger talent. And then there's packages where there's a meet and greet and an autograph, and that could be $150, whatever, $200 for a thing. I liken the pricing of the virtual meet and greets to the pricing of a photo op at a convention. So like, how they have the celebrity photo ops at a convention, we're looking at it from that aspect, that a virtual chat is like a photo op unit. And so, look, there's economics involved for everybody,
Sure.
Agents take a piece and managers take a piece and talent has to. So, we're trying to be fair to everybody and, respectful of their time, and also not, price things out of the water for the fan. But it's also important that there's, I think that Q&A element also to, for people who don't have and can't. And so, but yeah, it's really, I think 50 to 200, depending on who and what you're getting out of it.
Fair enough. And of course, the live Q&A is available on the Facebook page. What's the address for the Facebook?
It's just facebook.com/GalaxyCon Live.
Excellent. And of course, you're going to be on there as well in a few hours with your comic stream, which I'm going to tune in and pay attention to that. So that should be rather cool. I mean, we've got Into the Blue Mister saying huge fan of Keith Giffen and for his Justice League Ambush Bug and Trencher work. Well, yeah, I'm a Justice League man. If I showed you my pile of Justice Leagues, you'd know exactly how big a fan I am. So no, very much looking forward to.
I love the Justice League. work that him
Excellent stuff.
and JM DeMattis did.
Brilliant. Mike, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Every success for GalaxyCon.com.
Thank you.
Yeah, I look forward to checking out the rest of the announcements when they come out, sir.
Thank you so much.
Excellent stuff. Thank you very much indeed for your time.
Appreciate it.
Excellent. So there you go. Mike Broder, it's a pleasure. It was a pleasure talking to him, and thank you very much indeed for everybody who's been watching our incidental episodes today. Don't forget, back with our midweek show tomorrow. Donny Cates and Megan Hutchinson is going to be joining us. Like I say, we've got ourselves a fantastic roster of guests, which we're going to be bringing you over the course of this month. But we're looking for your suggestions for next. Please do tag us at an Englishman in San Diego, Englishman SDCC on the Twitter, of course. If there's anybody that you would love to see interviewed on Talking Con, we would love to have them on. Just drop us a line and we'll see if we can connect with them and get them on the show. Thanks to Michael DeLesso. Thanks to Mike Broder. And of course, do take care, stay safe, and we will see you on tomorrow's show. Talking Con, a cup of tea with an Englishman in San Diego, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. GMT. We'll see you then.